My name is Quinn Barrett, and I was invisible in high school. Not the kind of invisible where people ignored me completely. The worst kind. The kind where people saw me just enough to remember I was beneath them. I wasn't bullied. I wasn't tormented. I was simply overlooked. The girl who sat in the back of every class, who ate lunch alone by the library windows, who never got invited to parties no matter how many times I heard about them the next Monday morning. At the center of my invisibility was a girl named Savannah Cole. Savannah was everything I wasn't. Blonde, beautiful, rich, and cruel in that polished way that adults never noticed. Her father owned half the town, including the car dealership where my mom worked as a receptionist. Her mother ran the charity galas that my parents could never afford to attend. Savannah had been voted most likely to succeed senior year, and we all believed it. She was destined for greatness. The rest of us were just background noise. I remember one moment specifically. Junior year. I had saved up for months to buy a decent dress for homecoming. Not designer, not even close, but nice enough. I walked into the gym, and Savannah's eyes landed on me. She smiled that perfect smile and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, Quinn, did you raid the Goodwill bin? So brave of you to come out in public like that. Her friends laughed. I felt my face burn. I turned around and walked out. I spent homecoming night in my room, crying into my pillow, wondering why I even bothered trying. That was the night something shifted in me. Not anger. Not yet. Just a cold, quiet realization I was never going to win their game. So I needed to stop playing it. I graduated, left that town, and never looked back. At least, that's what I told myself. The truth is, I carried that town with me everywhere. Every rejection. Every laugh. Every moment of invisibility. I used it. I let it fuel me. I moved to Chicago with $800 in my savings account and a scholarship to a community college. I worked 3 jobs while getting my associate degree, waitressing, dog walking, and overnight shifts at a convenience store where I studied during the lulls. I transferred to a state university, then to a graduate program in public health. I specialized in epidemiology, which sounds boring until a pandemic hits and suddenly everyone cares what you think. By 28, I was a regional director for a major health foundation. I managed millions of dollars in grants, traveled internationally, and had a corner office with a view of the lake. I wasn't rich in the way Savannah's family was rich, not old money with country club memberships. But I was comfortable. I was respected. I had built something real. I hadn't thought about Savannah Cole in years. Then the invitation arrived. It was a glossy card with gold lettering, addressed to my childhood home and forwarded by my mother. Northwood High School class of 2014 to 10-year reunion. Below the date and venue, a handwritten note. Quinn, we'd love to see you there. So many people are asking about you. Savannah Cole, Reunion Committee. I stared at that note for a long time. So many people are asking about you. It was such a Savannah thing to write. The implication being that I should be grateful anyone remembered me at all. The implication being that she was doing me a favor by extending this invitation. I almost threw it away. Almost. But then I thought about that girl in the back of the classroom. The one who ate lunch alone. The one who left homecoming in tears. The one who was invisible. That girl deserved to be seen. I RSVP'd yes. The reunion was at the Oakwood, a fancy event space downtown that definitely didn't exist when we were in high school. It was the kind of place with exposed brick walls, Edison bulbs hanging from the ceiling, and cocktails that cost more than my first week's groceries in Chicago. I almost didn't recognize anyone at first. People change in 10 years. The jocks had softened around the edges. The nerds had filled out. The quiet kids had found their confidence. But some things never change. Savannah Cole walked in 20 minutes late, and the room parted like the Red Sea. She looked good. I'll give her that. Blonde hair perfectly styled, a fitted black dress that probably cost more than my rent, diamonds at her ears and throat. She moved through the crowd like she owned it, because she always had. Quinn Barrett. Her voice cut through the noise, and suddenly every eye was on me. Oh my God, look at you. You actually came. She air-kissed both my cheeks, leaving a trail of expensive perfume. Her smile was wide and perfect, but her eyes were doing that thing they always did, scanning, judging, calculating. I wouldn't have missed it, I said evenly. Can you believe it's been 10 years? She linked her arm through mine, staring me toward the bar. Tell me everything. What are you doing with yourself? I heard you moved away. Chicago or something? Chicago, yes. I'm in public health. Oh, public health. Her smile flickered. That's noble. Really? So you're like a nurse? Or do you work at a clinic? I'm a regional director for a health foundation. She blinked. Oh, wow. That's impressive. For someone from Northwood. The knife slid in so smoothly I almost didn't feel it. For someone from Northwood. Translation. For someone like you. For someone who wasn't supposed to succeed. And you? I asked, keeping my voice pleasant. What are you up to? I run my father's foundation now. The Cole Family Foundation? We do so much for this community. Scholarships, grants, the new Performing Arts Center downtown. That was us. She waved a hand vaguely. It's a lot of responsibility, but someone has to do it. Translation. I'm rich. I'm important. I matter. The night continued like that. Cocktails. Awkward conversations with people I barely remembered. A slideshow of old yearbook photos that drew laughter and groans. I kept to myself mostly, watching, waiting. Then came the program portion. Savannah took the microphone at the front of the room, beaming at her audience. Okay, everyone, settle down. It's time for our annual tradition, the Where Are They Now spotlight. We're going to call a few people up to share what they've been up to. She called up the former quarterback, now selling insurance. The valedictorian, now a stay-at-home mom. The class clown, now a stand-up comic who bombed harder than anyone expected. Then her eyes found me in the crowd. Quinn Barrett, she announced. Come on up, Quinn. Let's hear what our quiet little librarian has been doing with herself. Librarian. I had never been a librarian. In high school, I worked at the library after school, shelving books for minimum wage. Savannah knew that. She was reminding everyone of my place. I walked to the front, took the microphone, and looked out at the sea of faces. Some curious. Some amused. A few genuinely interested. Thanks, Savannah, I said. It's good to be seen. She missed the edge in my voice. They all did. I work in public health, I said. Specifically, I manage grant funding for epidemiological research and community health initiatives. It's not glamorous work, but it matters. Over the past 5 years, I've overseen the distribution of nearly $40 million in grants to communities across the Midwest. A murmur rippled through the crowd. $40 million. That number landed. 40 million, someone repeated. Wait, Quinn, you're in charge of 40 million? I manage a portfolio that size, yes. My foundation focuses on underserved communities, the kind that don't have performing arts centers funded by wealthy families. I glanced at Savannah, whose smile had frozen. The kind where kids eat free lunch and can't afford homecoming dresses from actual stores. Savannah's smile cracked, just slightly. But that's not why I'm here tonight, I continued. I'm here because Savannah invited me. She said people were asking about me. And I realized she was right. People should know what's possible when you leave this town and never look back. I pulled out my phone, checked a number I had saved earlier. Before I left Chicago, I did something I've been planning for months. Northwood High School's sports program is underfunded. The music department is using instruments from the 1980s. The library, my old library, where I worked, hasn't had new books in 7 years. I looked directly at Savannah. So I made a donation. $50,000. In my name. To Northwood High School. The room went silent. 50,000, someone whispered. The check was delivered this morning, I said. It'll be announced at the next school board meeting. But I wanted you all to hear it first. Because 10 years ago, I sat in the back of every class invisible. 10 years ago, I left a homecoming dance in tears because someone told me I didn't belong. 10 years ago, I was the girl everyone overlooked. I handed the microphone back to a stunned Savannah. Now I'm the girl who just gave $50,000 to a school that never believed in her. I stepped off the small stage and walked toward the exit. Behind me, the silence stretched, then shattered into chaos. I was halfway to the door when I heard heels clicking behind me. Quinn. Quinn, wait. Savannah caught up to me in the lobby, her face flushed, her perfect composure finally cracked. For the first time in 15 years, I saw something real in her eyes, desperation. You can't just leave, she said, grabbing my arm. You have to explain. $50,000? To the school? Why would you do that? I looked down at her hand on my arm until she let go. Because I can, I said simply. Because 10 years ago, I couldn't afford a homecoming dress. Because my mom worked 60 hours a week at your father's dealership and still couldn't make ends meet. Because this town, this school, these people, they never saw me. But I saw them. I saw the kids eating free lunch. I saw the teachers buying supplies with their own money. I saw the library with empty shelves. And I decided that if I ever had the chance to change that, I would. Savannah stared at me, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. But 50,000, she whispered. That's a lot of money. It is, I agreed. It's also exactly 10 times what my mom made in a year at your father's dealership. Funny how numbers work out. I turned to leave, but Savannah's voice stopped me again. You planned this, she said. You knew I would call you up. You knew I would. I knew you would be you, I said without turning around. I knew you couldn't resist one more chance to put me in my place. I just gave you the stage, Savannah. You did the rest yourself. I walked out into the cool night air and didn't look back. The next morning, my phone exploded. Texts from old classmates I hadn't spoken to in a decade. A friend request from the former quarterback. A message from the school principal thanking me for the donation and asking if I'd be willing to speak at the next assembly. An interview request from the local newspaper. And one text from a number I didn't recognize. Quinn, it's Savannah. I don't know if you'll read this, but I want to apologize. For everything. High school. Last night. All of it. You didn't deserve any of it. I'm sorry. I stared at that message for a long time. 10 years ago, I would have cried reading it. I would have called her back, thanked her, begged for her friendship. 10 years ago, I was desperate for her approval. Now I just felt nothing. I didn't reply. 6 months later, I flew back to Northwood for the school assembly. The principal introduced me as one of our most distinguished alumni, and I stood on the stage of the gymnasium where I had once been mocked, looking out at hundreds of students who had no idea who I was. I told them my story. The invisibility. The loneliness. The nights crying over dresses I couldn't afford. And then I told them about the life I built afterward. There's a girl in this room right now who feels invisible, I said. There's a boy eating lunch alone today. There's a student who thinks they don't matter. I was that student. And I'm standing here to tell you, you matter. You matter more than you know. And if you work hard, if you believe in yourself, if you refuse to let anyone make you feel small, you can build a life that no one can take from you. The applause was loud and long. Afterward, students lined up to thank me, to ask questions, to shake my hand. One girl hung back, waiting until the crowd thinned. She was small, quiet, with glasses and braids and a nervous smile. Miss Barrett, she said. I'm Lily. I work in the library. After school. And I just wanted to say, thank you. For the new books. For everything. And for telling your story. It made me feel like maybe I could, matter someday. I hugged her. I don't usually hug strangers, but I hugged her. Lily, I said, you already matter. Don't ever let anyone tell you different. She smiled, and I saw something in her eyes that I recognized. Hope. The same hope I had carried through all those lonely years. I flew back to Chicago that night, but I carried that moment with me. The donation was just money. The speech was just words. But that girl, Lily, standing in the library where I once stood, she was everything. The funny thing is, Savannah's foundation announced a matching donation to the school the following month. $50,000 in her family's name. The local paper ran a story about the generous rivalry between two alumni giving back. Savannah's PR team spun it beautifully. I didn't care. Let her have the headlines. I had something better. I had Lily's smile. I had the knowledge that somewhere in that library, a girl who felt invisible was finally starting to see herself. And maybe, just maybe, she wouldn't have to wait 10 years to be seen. As for Savannah, we never spoke again. I heard through the grapevine that her father's foundation ran into some financial trouble the next year. Something about mismanaged funds and an IRS audit. The Performing Arts Center had to postpone its expansion. The scholarships were cut back. I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate. I just kept doing my work, managing my grants, traveling to underserved communities, building something real. Because in the end, that's the difference between us. Savannah inherited her platform. I built mine. And when you build something yourself, no one can take it away. At my 10-year reunion, the popular girl mocked my job. Then I donated $50,000 to our school. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't invisible anymore. I was seen.